Anyways, on Parvati's Letterboxd profile, she has 4 favorite movies, and I believe one of them is our film for this week.
Oh yes.
It
Well, we
is?
already did one of them, which was La La Land, which was our first episode, and then this is our second one that's on my list, which is drum roll. I don't know. Birdman, for the unexpected virtue of ignorance. Yay!
That's what I'm talking about. You're Birdman. You are a god.
Hey! Is this for real or are you shooting a film?
A film!
You people are full of shit!
So yeah, why do you recommend it? What do you think made it a good episode, or what were some of the talking points you wanted to go over, as well as a little like introduction of the film?
Sure. Okay, so the film was made in 2014, directed by Alejandro Iñárritu, and I personally, it's in my top 4 because I was so mind blown when I first watched it for like the format in which it was filmed originally, and this was before 1917 came out, so like I was just mind blown by like it being shot and edited to look like it was all done in one take, and I just thought it was so clean and cool. And also just the themes of the film itself too. I love movies that talk about characters who are so engrossed in their craft or in their passions that they kind of go insane, or they have like pieces of themselves that they're trying to let go of, or they're trying to be released from. And I just think themes like those really just like capture me, because I think they're some of the most important things to talk about in people. And yeah.
No, but there's definitely a lot of like meat to this movie, and I think definitely the one shot thing is what gave it the most like publicity when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And the one shot definitely holds up. It's really smooth, and it's really one of the more impressive takeaways from the film. Emma, did you have any like opening thoughts about Birdman?
Well, okay, I've figured out this time around that I like the movie a lot, but I interestingly found that I've enjoyed thinking about the movie after it more than I have enjoyed watching it, which is so weird. And it kind of makes sense, but a part of it doesn't. But I love like watching the movie, of course, like it's, but I think I find most of the enjoyment of the film is thinking about it afterwards. I really have. It's one of those movies that just sits with you for a while, and then it crawls back into your brain, and you think about certain moments or certain themes. And I think I like the reflecting period afterwards more.
I think
I
I
think that's a
realized this
positive.
time. I think I realized
It is
this
a
time around
positive. It's not
watching
like a
it.
bad thing about the movie.
Yeah. I think I realized this time watching it, it was my third time watching it, and I honestly realized that I liked thinking about it more than I actually liked watching it, but I also enjoy watching it a lot.
No, I just think it's one of those films where you get more out of it once the movie is over, because there's so much going on and there's so many kind of general themes in the story that once all of it is over and you can sit with it for a couple of days, it really is more enjoyable, and I think you understand it more when you versus watching it. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are like, oh, but watching it isn't. I think there's watching it's
No,
just
but
as
it is.
enjoyable.
Yeah, I love
though.
watching it. I love watching it.
like,
I really like I don't know, I just like thinking about how all of it comes together in the end, and you just think about how all of it really like just reflects the whole themes and everything about it. I love thinking about it afterwards, but it's because you have to watch it all the way through too.
Well, yes.
But also the acting just so
No,
good.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to talk about the acting first, because I feel like that's one of the
Yes.
biggest takeaways from the movie is
Good.
the performances. One of the best acted movies of like the decade, I would say.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%. Very true. There's almost all of the characters and like the actors in it do such an incredible job. They're just so good, and I feel like all of the characters just are so like well written and well acted, and it's rare, I think, to watch a movie where I feel like everyone's on the same level.
I would say like perfectly casted too. Just
Yes.
Michael Keaton being like an ex-superhero, of course, is so meta.
Yeah.
But also like Ed Norton being the method actor when he is a method actor.
Yes.
Norton so much. I
He's-
forgot he was in this, and then he showed up, and I was like, Edward Norton. Oh my god!
His scene introduction is so good because he's doing the scene for the play, but then he like
Yes.
stops and he has like that look, like, what did you think of
Yes.
that? And that's like,
Oh, I
that's
love
what puts
that
it
look.
Yep.
together.
I love
awesome.
him.
It's
Not
funny
his
too.
character, but him. But
It's
His
funny too.
character is the pretentious actor,
yeah, but I
which I
kinda
feel
do
like that's Ed Norton in real life.
But I thought no, I think he's a little bit nicer.
In real life.
I
would
hope
hope-
so.
I have hope for him.
But
Yeah.
you were saying something, Parvati?
Oh
we,
yeah,
like, talked about
I was looking up like fun facts about this movie too, and it's funny because like all of the main characters in this movie are actually like people who were in comic book movies too. So like Michael Keaton was Batman, and then Ed Norton played Bruce Banner in The Unspeakable.
Yeah, he did.
Incredible
Yeah,
Hulk.
he did. Yeah,
And then
he did.
Emma Stone was in the middle of playing Gwen Stacy in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Mhm.
Like she was in between filming Amazing Spider-Man 2, yeah. When shooting Birdman.
Yeah, Spider-Man
also.
shows up in the movie.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameo.
And then it said like Naomi Watts played Jet Girl in Tank Girl, which I have never heard of.
I've never heard of that either. Tank Girl.
Yeah, apparently
But,
Sounds
that's
like
I
a
mean-
video game.
yeah.
No, I just found it interesting where, like, in their universe, it seems like the Marvel universe exists because they talk about Avengers and
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner, but it feels like DC universe is different and like Batman is Birdman type of thing, and that's
Mhm.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't really think about
Oh
that.
my, okay. I just searched up Tank Girl and this poster. I've seen this poster before.
Oh, you have? I want to look
Yeah,
it up
this
now.
movie. Oh my gosh.
If you were listening,
Is
look it
she
up
the
as
lead?
well.
No,
She's
she's
Jet
definitely.
Girl.
She's
Oh,
not
wow.
Tank Girl. She's Jet Girl.
Wow,
Oh my
I
gosh.
have not seen this, but I love
I have
it.
not seen this either.
I'm
God.
gonna stuff this in my pocket for a future episode.
That's
Yeah.
actually quite a nice poster. I kind of like it.
Yeah. Also,
Are
Are
going
you
back
looking
to
the one with Tank? Oh, go ahead.
This one's
Yeah, that one exactly. It's
vibrant.
one with like Tank Girl in her tank, but it's all colorful and separated.
Yep. Mm.
Yeah, I was saying going back to the acting and things, I think a main reason why I really enjoyed the acting too, it was that it all felt so natural, and also because they were all in super long takes, they don't feel choppy at all. So I feel like they all really had to embody their characters themselves instead of it just being like, I don't know, in between kind of thing. And also all of it just felt so natural and like fitting for all of them as well, which I really loved.
I think
I
the
agree with
one shot, the one shot aspect makes the acting more difficult in a way because like the natural rhythm from editing is taken out, so it really has to play out through like just being part of their environments, sort of like a play, which is why I think the one shot
Say that,
aspect works
yes.
so well. Yeah,
I know. I think it really does because when you see like them doing their theater performances, it just like reminds that. And whenever you like watch interviews of actors in like one shot type of films, they always mention how, oh yeah, you're doing these long scenes and it feels like you're in a play rather than a movie. And I feel like that's funny because there is a play in it and it just fits, I think, more.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
feel like it must have been helpful too because when they were shooting it, I believe they shot it in like chronological order of the actual film as well because of the way that it was shot.
Wow.
So that was
that would
probably it was probably like easier to stay in whatever character they needed to be in. But
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely really well acted. Overall, it's so good.
Mhm.
That's mhm.
we can talk about our favorite performance later, but I just want to talk about more about the one shot aspect of it.
Yes.
Inuritu said like the idea came to him because he wanted it to feel like you couldn't escape his life, like you're stuck
True. Oh my
here
God.
because like he saw editing as like a way to like escape like the danger of the moment in a way. So like when we just stick on a person for so long, the tension really helps. But then I can segue this point into like the music. I think the music helps so much because I feel like without the music, the one shot wouldn't work as well because the music I think gives a natural sense of rhythm to each scene, and that would have been absent otherwise without editing.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
You know,
And also, I love the style of the score too, just because majority of it is in drums, and then when it switches to him kind of being in his dream state with his like Birdman or whatever, it changes to like the more traditional scores. So I think I just really love the style of it itself too.
hmm It definitely is very different from the standard film, basically. And I think that it's cool that not only the one shot aspect of it was very different, but also like the score. And I feel like overall, like the rhythm of the film was very different to your standard Hollywood type of movie. And I like how it's not just in that one aspect, that it's all around, it's very different. I think that's really cool.
I was waiting for Parvati to bring up that we saw Antonio Sanchez live.
Yeah, I was going to.
The musical score.
Can't
No, but one
relate.
of the more interesting like tidbits I got from like that is when he talked about how they would score the film. He would have like Inarritu close his eyes and like go through the scene and explain what's going on, and he would play according to the descriptions. So I think that helped like the music really like match the tone of tone of the film, and like him like turning a corridor exactly with the music, and the music pairing up so well with the visuals.
Precisely.
really
Oh,
cool.
for the people who are listening who don't know, we Antonio Sanchez came and played the live score while we watched the film Birdman when we were at school last year, and it was super cool. And he was talking about the process of actually making the score and things. But
Man,
yeah,
that's so
I thought
cool.
I just thought it was super cool, and I also think that like it almost takes things to a different level creatively too, because you're forced to see things in a way that's not, or listen to things, I guess, in a way that's not normally listened to too. I just thought it was really dope. And yeah, also about the shooting and things too, in the trying to make it seem like it's one take too. It was shot and rehearsed within 2 months, and the editing, because of the way it was shot too, and because of how well it was planned, it was only it only took 2 weeks for the editing as well, which is like insane to me. Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like most of the editing just went with like visual effects.
Yeah, honestly. That's really cool. Wow. I feel like there would have been more rehearsing.
I know,
That's
you would
crazy.
think so too.
That's really
but
impressive.
I know,
Wow.
yeah. But also, if you think about it, there was only 16 cuts in the whole movie. So if you had all 16 like pieces already, you could basically put it together in a day, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but you
then,
would
like,
have
the
to look
visual
through all
effects.
your
Yeah,
takes, which ones flow
Mhm.
with the best, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
definitely.
adding like the soundtrack and stuff. But that's
Yeah,
still
exactly.
that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, and it was
Dang.
also
Is
the
that really
first.
all it took? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, that's
Good
insane,
for
right?
them.
I think if you just plan, like it just shows that if you plan things like well enough, you can really do it in that little
Yeah.
amount of time. Yeah, and
Very
it was
true.
also the
Yeah.
first Best Picture winner to be shot entirely digitally.
Oh wow.
So like
I didn't know
everything
That
that.
makes
before
That's
sense.
really
I think
cool.
because they would run out of film if they would have to
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that
follow.
makes sense. But
Yeah,
also at the
exactly.
same time, that's really cool. Wow, I didn't know that.
Because
Wow, look
everything
at
else
these little
before it that
examples.
had won Best Picture was either partially or entirely on film, but this was entirely digital, which is pretty cool.
Dang.
Makes
Wow.
sense. Do you know if the cinematographer Lubeski was he also the operator? So was it him following
I
around actors, or did they have? You don't
I have
know.
no idea actually.
Okay, that's fine.
Interesting.
I just want to know exactly what he did, because I've seen pictures of Roger Deakins on set on 1917 actually
Oh
holding
yeah,
the camera, and I don't know if
Yeah.
he actually like operated for some. I know he also had operators, obviously.
he had
Yes,
operators.
Just
I
wondering
know
what-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the ending, because I have my interpretation of it.
Yes.
I
And you guys
love
wanted to get
listening
into
to
the themes. So
I love
what themes did you guys want to talk about? Like, what was the aspects of the film that you found the most interesting?
I mean, personally, so I think there's the main theme of like ego when you're in the industry that we're in, when you're in show business in general. That's like a main thing. And for me, that was the main thing I kind of paid attention to this time around, because I was also looking at, I guess I'll just go into my spiel and then you can talk about yours. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect.
Okay.
Go for it.
So mine was basically, so it was basically about like how ego follows Riggin the entire time, like throughout the entire movie. And The thing is, you start off the film with him kind of like, I think I just like all the elements of him kind of being like Birdman, like just randomly like moving things and being able to like float in the air and things, and those parts being like an imaginative part of his ego that still lies with him, and the personification itself of his ego being the Birdman. And I was watching it with my sister, and she didn't really understand it after we watched it, but when I was explaining it to her, I realized that one reason why I really like the film too is because it's established in the beginning of the film that he's been like battling with himself, trying to like regain his confidence in like himself as an actor and things. But since Birdman, he hasn't been able to find that, and now this play is supposed to be the thing that saves him. But then all this other stuff happens, which makes him like doubt himself again until the very end. And so it's funny because the way like the battle you see on screen of him having this big play that's supposed to be about him and wanting like the reporters to be writing about him, but then Ed Norton's character steals the spotlight. It's kind of like a metaphor connecting like how Robert Downey Jr. was the new like big superhero guy after like Reagan was supposedly like marked his path in the superhero industry as well too. And so I was just saying like the entire span of what we see in his battle, like trying to get this play out, kind of signifies his overall struggle since he stopped being Birdman, kind of. So it's like other people taking fame for something that he already did, and basically like him trying to figure himself out through all of that. And so like for me, the ending was him finally letting go, or finally being able to free himself from it because he has redeemed himself to himself, and so he's able to say goodbye to the Birdman and just become who he wants to be because he's fulfilled himself in that way. Yeah.
And then also it relates to at the beginning, the quote that's shown on, I can't remember whose grave, but it's shown on someone's grave. But saying like, oh, have you found like fulfillment on earth or something? And it's like, yeah, through like love or something, finding love on one's earth. And I feel like that is what you were saying. It's just which it relates to that quote at the beginning, which is cool. It comes full circle. He's finally found that fulfillment. He's finally been like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I have a more negative interpretation
I love
Okay.
it.
of the
I'm
ending,
so
like the
excited.
epilogue.
I love this.
I'm excited for my
Well,
interpretation.
Yeah, I'll say something afterwards because it reminds me of something. And anyway, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, so I was realizing this time around that the film is structured in a very similar way to 2001: Space Odyssey. And this is not a spoiler, like at all. Like it's just at 3 points during the movie of Birdman, there's like a suicide, right? So that's, that is a kind of like 3-act kind of thing. But in
what are the 3 suicides? Obviously there's the one at the end.
Yeah, and then the one
where he jumps off the building.
That's one, yeah. And then the first one is the first one on stage.
Oh, I see. The fake one for the play. Okay, got it.
I see.
Yeah, so those like form, I would say, the movie, and that's when I feel like there's different
X starts.
Yeah.
In a way.
So
yeah.
in 2001, the the 3. I can't. Never mind.
Go ahead. You've already dug a hole.
Fine.
It's
fine. Okay. So the 3, it's split whenever the monoglyph, the black box.
No, okay.
Yeah. So the movie is split into 3 parts, and at each part, it's split by showing the monoglyph.
The appearance of the monoglyph.
And obviously, there's one at the end of the movie, and people strive for, what does it mean? What is the monoglyph? Does it symbolize this? Does it symbolize that? Is it literally something, And I feel like it's very similar to the ending of Birdman, because people try to like figure out what's their specific meaning for like him jumping out the window, or is he flying? Is he dead? Is he like that? And I found that was super interesting, because you can find so many answers for that, and it can be personalized to whatever you think. And I love that. And it just made me think of 2001, and I like that a lot because I love 2001.
Yeah, when you mentioned 2001, I thought of like, you know, the final room with the
Yes.
bed,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's
It's
like
so similar.
Birdman in
Oh
a
my
way.
God,
Yeah.
yeah. That's so
That was
cool.
the first like connection I thought of when you're like, it
Yeah.
reminded me of 2001. I'm like, what in 2001 reminded you of
Well,
Birdman?
it's just because like I've watched 2001 with people where they thought that the monoglyph was God. And then I've
Mhm.
watched it with people where they're like, no, it just symbolized technology advancing humanity. But then I've watched it with people who have just been like, I think the monoglyph is sent there by aliens. And like
That's
all of it is valid though, because there's no answer. It's honestly
Mhm.
what you think it is. And I feel like different. I think that Birdman, there is some options where you're like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. But but because I think the monoglyph is a little bit more ambiguous than Birdman. But I think that that's really cool. I love that. I love hearing different interpretations from people. But anyways, go ahead,
Yeah,
JJ.
no, yeah,
Sure.
but to Parvathi's point about Regan, what's I don't
Regan.
what's his first name in the movie?
Regan. It's Regan Thompson.
Regan?
Yeah.
Regan Thompson. Okay.
Reagan.
So yeah, there's definitely Regan's like whole battle, and that's what makes up the bulk of the film. But I felt like it's him trying to break away from the Birdman persona, and he's trying to
Mhm.
be a more established actor.
Yes.
Because like I think the opportunity to become Birdman is still there for him. Like when the reporter's like, "Oh, you're doing Birdman 4," and like everyone just still recognizes him as Birdman, and Birdman's like the thing that haunts him, and it's what he's trying to break away from. So whenever like Birdman's there to like confront him, like, "Yo, we can get back into it," he always just wants to break away.
Mhm.
And I think my interpretation of the movie revolves more around like just like what is art, because his conflict with the critic in a way like summarizes that whole thing. It's like, can these movie stars actually do like meaningful kind of art, whatever that even is? But in terms of the ending, I have a more negative interpretation. I feel like he died when he shot himself on stage, even though it does look
You
like he shot
too.
himself in
That's
the
my
nose.
interpretation. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's one of those like Taxi Driver like endings.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, where
Yes.
it's
Very
like
true. Yep.
they wake up after this event and it's like, what happened?
Mhm.
But I feel like he died there.
Yeah. Same.
And the hospital scene is like a fantasy, because that's a point in the movie where he can finally fly, and I saw flying as like like a literal symbol of him being above everyone, and he has
Mhm.
this really like mindset of being just above everything, and he wanted to reach like the ultimate version of that by being above just the normal like box office watching people and like the high class theater crowd. And at the end, when he finally flies in front of his daughter, that's like when he's above it all, and he's like supplanted that mountain. And it's your interpretation if he actually achieved that. But you know, I don't think, I think he like got shot there
Also, yeah,
in
I
the crowd.
think that he did die. Also, that's kind of what I assumed. But I'm open to other interpretations too, because I like hearing all of them. I like thinking about that. But I feel like when he is in the hospital, so it's way it's kind of dreamlike, but I also felt that that was the way after each type of suicide in it, basically, in a way. Uh, because in the first one, then he got sent a bunch of like roses. People liked his show or something, and then in the second one, he was flying. You know, it was very dreamlike, and then the third one was in the hospital. So I think that was very interesting. But I also feel like that was his moment where he was kind of just picturing like that moment right before death when you're reflecting and stuff, and it was kind of one of those dreamlike moments where he pictured, oh, you know, I have my daughter, she loves me, we're together, it's great, oh, I'm famous, you know, it's great. And then that's finally the moment where he can break free from like his troubles in a way. But yeah.
I like that
Yeah,
explanation too, actually.
I've read some interpretations where like that is like a real thing, and
Yeah.
he actually just died when he jumped out the window, and his daughter's
Mm.
still like crazy. But I don't like. I don't.
Ouch.
It's because
think
like
that's
you hear her laughing once it cuts to black.
Yeah.
So there's
Ah.
like a manic type of
But also she
I
looks
don't like that.
and she
I
sees
think that's what
something.
she's. I think that switches the focus to her then instead of it being
It
like,
does.
and that's kind of random. I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I feel like
some-
that's too out of left
that's
field.
one of the things that I've heard where I'm like, okay, well, you can kind of disprove that because there are certain interpretations that I've heard where I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense because of this or this.
I mean, I feel like it makes sense in terms of like interpretation, but I don't think as a storyteller, like as filmmakers, they would have the story. Like,
yeah, no, I don't think so. either.
Yeah, I
But-
agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah. But
all right, did you guys have anything else you wanted to discuss in terms of like theme and whatnot, or other interpretations of the movie that you had? Because we did talk about like the subplots, like with Ed Norton's character and Emma Stone's character, obviously, who like I loved their performances,
I
and like
love
their two arcs kind of like solve each other in a way
they
with their
do.
relationship,
hmm
and I found that really interesting. Because
Mhm.
like I'm just impressed that a movie like in one shot still managed to tell like other stories.
Very
Because
true.
like you think you'd be restricted to the one shot guy you're following, but they really like weave around the entire like theater department,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and go
Just,
through
like,
everyone's struggles.
Mhm. The flow of everything is so good with like the camera movements, their conversations, the way like everything, it just flows so well. And I love that scene. Well, all the scenes actually between Emma Stone and Ed Norton, like on the roof and stuff, like so good. Such good dialogue. I love it, and it's
I
just
agree.
interesting.
I think I also just love like a one shot kind of film that gives like it still gives you a balance of having all these other takes on it too. Because I think like JJ said, like you expect to just be following the story of like one person, but then you get so many breaks in between with like the subplots of everyone else in the film, like everyone else trying to work on this on the play and stuff too, and just like focus on the city almost too.
Hmm.
And just like his environment and things too, like the environment and kind of like the pressure of the environment he's in too. I think it just does an overall like amazing job of giving you everything.
Yeah. It's also interesting because it kind of like counteracts the theme of like arrogance and like the big ego because, you know, in his mind, he's like the main character and he's the most important one going on in the story. But actually, what's interwoven into the plot is the stories of the other characters as well. And though you could argue, well, they're there to push forward his story or to, you know, be there as well.
But
But at the same time,
actually I don't know about that because like Ed Norton's arc I think has nothing to do with.
I also agree. Well, actually no, because his character is what Reagan. Sorry,
Reagan.
I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
it's like is it Reagan
it's
or
such
Reagan?
a weird name. I
Reagan.
keep thinking
Reagan
Ronald
Thompson.
Reagan.
Yeah, Reagan Thompson.
But it's what his character wants. He wants to be like known by other people. He wants to be noticed. He wants to be like just effortlessly the person that everyone talks about.
But who are you talking?
And-
Reagan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Reagan wants
Okay,
to
yes,
be
yes.
what isn't his name Mike? Right?
Mike? Yeah, it's Mike.
Yeah, he wants to have what Mike has. He wants to like be talked about, but he's not. So not mainly what personality, but just he wants to be talked about. He wants his name in the paper. He wants to be on the front page. You know?
I felt like Mike. It's just weird calling him Mike.
No, I
He
love
wants
the name.
I
So
feel like
fun.
his thing is like he was all about the art. Like he didn't really care about being
Yes.
popular. I feel
Yes.
like it just naturally happens because he's such like a dedicated actor in a way.
And that's what's interesting about his character is such a contrast to Reagan's character. Like, it's so different, and because what all that Reagan sees is the popularity and being famous and regaining like the famosity again, but towards something he actually wants, which also he doesn't really want, but you know, he sees. I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to say, but yeah.
But yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yep.
All right, so I guess that's it for theme then. I guess we could just
Well,
talk about
I mean, also like the theme of being known for something and trying to break away from that. I mean, it's just like, have you guys seen BoJack Horseman?
Yes.
no.
I
Yeah,
love
but
BoJack.
It's literally BoJack Horseman, but in a movie.
Yeah, I agree actually.
Which is really cool, and it deals with a lot of the same things, like the
Mhm.
same. Well, obviously the overarching theme of I want to break away from what I'm known for, but I want to do it in this way, and it just doesn't
Yeah.
work out. But I recommend.
I know what
BoJack.
you're talking about when you talk about BoJack, though. I haven't seen
Yeah.
the show, but
Okay,
I know
well, the
he's
show
like
is
he
really
was
good.
famous in like a TV show, right? And he
Yeah,
had it.
90s sitcom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
really
now he's like a
cool.
washed-up actor.
Yeah, and he wants to. Well, also, it kind of relates to Birdman in the way that he wants to not only like become famous again, but also he wants to regain relationships that he's lost along the way, and
Mhm.
basically kind of find himself too, which I think is something going on in Birdman as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's
yeah,
a lot of
I like.
comparisons.
Oh
to-
yeah,
to
actually, now that I
it.
think about it, there's a lot.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people just talk about the similarities. I've watched like videos on it, which is so fun, but I don't remember a lot of them because that was a while ago. But that's okay.
Yeah, I think
I
I
recommend.
like the idea a lot of like someone trying to change the image that people have already been seeing them for a really long time, and
Mhm.
like just trying to see if it's actually possible or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also think like part of me kind of hates it,
Mhm.
hates that theme because I'm like, oh boo-hoo, wow, you were famous and now you're not famous for that. Wow, I feel
No, but I feel like
so
that can
sorry.
apply to
But
anything, though. It doesn't have
exactly,
to
no,
just be
I agree with that. Yeah, but then also part of me is like, well, to be only seen as like a character in
Mhm.
something and to never be seen as like, I mean, not just as famous, but just as like a person. They come up to him
Mhm.
and they just see Birdman. They don't see who he is and who he wants other people to see him as,
Yeah.
which I think is really interesting. And
Mhm.
it makes me sad for stars because that is a thing where,
It is a thing that is real, yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
People will
there's
just
so
see them
many.
as their most popular character.
Exactly. But then
I'm
there are
thinking of
some who break away from it.
I'm thinking of like Daniel Radcliffe. Like
Yes,
he's
he's
just
the
stuck as
perfect
Harry Potter
example.
forever.
And it's
Well, I know
really
him as the guy
sad.
from Swiss Army Man.
Okay,
He's the
yeah, that's
farting
what
guy from Swiss
that's
Army.
the only other thing I know him as now, though.
No, but like, and he tried so hard and he still tries, but
Yeah.
like he will never not be seen as
As
Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter, yeah.
Everyone
I
sees
think
him
it
as
was.
that, and that's
I
really
think it was
sad.
funny.
But also, I don't know.
I think it's funny because he was also in Now You See Me as like the guy that doesn't know how to do like magic or whatever, but he was like a wizard.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's his fault for being in a magic
yeah, I
movie.
know exactly. But I mean, he kind of,
He
which
had
is
to know what was coming with
interesting.
that one.
Daniel Radcliffe started doing plays
Mm.
recently because, which is kind of funny and ironic because haha,
Yikes.
Birdman, whoa. And it kind of really just proves that that is like it is what's going on with him. And I think
Mhm.
that's sad. But then also part of me is like, well, I mean, is it bad that people see him as Harry Potter? And then the other part of me is like, well, yeah, if you only see him as, oh, look, it's Harry Potter, and then not, oh, look, it's Daniel Radcliffe.
Do you guys
I don't
think
know.
that that's like a thing someone can actually successfully escape from?
Yes, very much so.
You think so?
I feel like let me think.
I'm
I'll
trying,
give you
like
an
I would
example.
like to say so, but I'm trying to think of like an actor that
I know.
is, like,
I'm trying to think too, and also in relation
This is
to
a
that. do you-
okay. I have an example. I have a person.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, as an extension, do you think Riggin does a good job? Do you think he succeeds in breaking away from it too?
in his fantasy he does, but
Yeah.
in
In
the
his
real world where
fantasy.
he dies, I don't think he does.
I don't think so
he
either.
does either. I know. But I would say, and this might not be the best example, but I know that for a while it is a good. But like Christian Bale for a while was just known as Batman, another
Mm.
Batman. Like
I don't know
you
if
know?
he was just known as
But
Batman.
he
though,
was
'cause
he was for a while though. He was because people would, and I know he's like done really like
No, but he's
good
done things
movies
before that. Like
before.
he was in
Yeah,
Little
but
Women, of course, in
the
'94.
classic.
He was
No.
American Psycho. Patrick
Yeah,
Bateman, such an
I
iconic
knew him as
role.
American Psycho. Actually, I
Yeah,
didn't
wait,
know him
actually
as-
that's a good example then because well, okay, maybe
Oh,
he's
he
not
broke
the best
from that
example.
to Batman. He was able to escape with the superhero role.
No. Well, actually, yeah. Wow. That happens with I remember I was watching a documentary on Halloween. This is a really weird example, but Jamie Lee Curtis her mom told her, because her mom was the main character in, well, not the main character, oh my god, no. She was in Psycho, and she's after Psycho only did horror films. And she told Jamie Lee Curtis, like, from a very young age, like once she finished Halloween, she's like, don't just stick with this. Break away from this, because if you don't, you're going to be stuck with horrors for the rest of your life. And Jamie Lee Curtis listened, and now, I mean, yeah, she is known for Halloween, but she's also been in multiple different types of genres of film.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that. It doesn't.
No, but
have
this is
to
like
just
the
be a
age-old
superhero.
issue for actors, right? Like
It
not
is.
falling into a set like
I
role
know.
and trying to break free from it.
And some actors do a really good job. I would say Christian Bale is a good example.
Yeah, Christian Bale's
every
such a
single
character
role.
actor.
Yeah,
think so,
every
too.
single role he is known for, and he just breaks away from everything. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Not to
I feel
bring
like that's-
everything back to Tarantino, but this is literally Rick Dalton's issue in Once Upon a Time.
True.
Like to not be
Yeah.
cast as the villain and everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No,
wow,
but
I didn't
that's
even
like,
think about that.
but if you look back at like old actors, like this is the problems they had to
Yes.
face.
I
Pretty sure
I
Cary
even feel
Grant
like
went
now
through this
it's still a
issue.
problem.
Cary Grant, bro.
Yeah, Cary Grant probably was like, "You're
No.
the lead in a romantic comedy again." Like, ah,
With the
dang.
woman
Yeah.
who is
I mean,
20
it's
years
kind of
younger
like-
than you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Adam Sandler. Like
It
everyone
is kind of
sees-
like Adam Sandler.
everyone sees Adam
Mm.
Sandler as the actor in a comedy. They never
But
see
you,
him as
you associate him with a genre, yeah. But like, in
yeah.
not
You
a
don't
specific
associate
role.
him with like dramas. Even I think after Uncut Gems, I feel you would still see Adam Sandler as
I think that's what
like
he's
a
known
comedy
for, yeah.
actor. Yeah, because he's done it for so long, and it just took him this long to break away from it. Not that I think he wanted
But
to.
he
I
has
don't know
done
what he wanted
dramatic
to do.
roles though. Before.
Yeah. But then
Was he just
were they
lesser
that
known for them though?
successful?
Do you think if he got like more recognition for Uncut Gems that he would have done a better job of breaking away
No,
from
I
it?
don't think he's trying to
No.
break away from his image at all. I don't think he's.
I
trying to
don't think so
portray
either.
himself
Yeah,
as a-
exactly. I
Mhm.
think I just think it's a good example for when you think of Adam Sandler, you don't think drama, you think comedy. You know, same. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
Uncut
that's
Gems was him doing it because he liked the script and he liked the Safdie
Yes.
brothers, and
Yeah.
also it was another opportunity for him to show that he can be a serious actor, but not necessarily that he like wants that to be his brand or anything. Yeah. But yeah, all right. Let's talk about our favorite part in the movie. Like, I want to call this like our YouTube scene. Like, what scene would be like? Go back and just watch on YouTube without having to watch the entire movie.
Ooh.
I have a couple. Like, I'll just throw some out there.
good because I have to think about this.
Yeah, I have to think through.
The most popular one would be the underwear scene where he gets his robe stuck
Oh.
Yeah.
in the door and he has to walk all the way around to the front of the theater.
Man,
which
that's
Michael
such a
Keaton
long
actually
run.
did. In
Yeah.
like,
In Times
I
Square,
feel like
which is amazing.
Times
earlier
Square.
part
Yeah,
of you when
they-
you were saying the idea of like the one shot was like, oh, did you say this, JJ, where you can't escape like
Yeah.
his
You
real-
can't cut away from it.
Yeah,
Like you have to stick on him the
and
whole
you're
time.
stuck there and
Mhm.
you're so like, oh god, it's stressful for you. You have
Yeah.
so much anxiety, but it's also uncomfortable and you're just like sitting there. I think that's one of the best examples of that feeling while you're watching it, because you're like, I can't break away from this because it's all just here. And yeah.
I agree.
Anyway.
I like the
Oh.
story about how they hired the marching band so people would be distracted for a while. But
Yeah.
he like walks like right next to him.
I
He
know.
does, he
I'm like,
walks
why
through
would you
it.
do go around the back, sir?
I know.
No, but I feel like he had to for the sake of the shot to be like, oh, there's a marching band.
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
you too. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Also,
wow.
another fun fact: they shot that scene at midnight so that there wasn't like as much of a crowd in Times Square, and so that majority of the people on screen would be like extras that they meant to have there. But
Yeah,
that
yeah,
means
yeah,
that some of the people in the background were actually there when they were shooting this, which is like,
Mhm.
imagine being
my
there
gosh. I
when
wish that would be
Michael
so
Keaton's
great.
just running in his underwear in Times
I
Square.
would be laughing so hard.
I'd be like, oh, is this for a movie? Like, like when they see him on top of the
Yeah,
building,
is
and it's
this
like,
for
is
a
this for a
movie?
movie?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
That's funny.
But speaking of another like good scene, it's that one where he jumps off
Yeah.
the roof and flies
Mhm.
through. The flying doesn't look very well, very good.
No,
A couple
No.
of years later,
but
I
also
but
I feel
I
like
appreciate
it's
the effort.
fine.
It's his fantasy, so I feel like there's like a certain charm. To it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can look like that. I think when he's landing, it looks good.
How did you guys
Another-
feel about like the like you know like the fantasy like score that plays in the background, but then it like suddenly cuts off and stuff?
Oh yeah, it like insta
Yeah.
cuts off, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's-
I don't know
it's-
either.
I don't know.
It's not a highlight for me. But
It's like
not a
kind of
low light
random
either.
to me.
Yeah.
No, but I think maybe it shows like the like switch back to reality. Like he's back to the real world and the fantasy's over just like that.
Yeah.
Such a great moment though when it's like you just find out he just took a taxi and the guy just
Oh,
runs.
Yeah.
I
That's amazing.
love that scene. That's probably my favorite scene just for comedy wise.
Comedy. I think anything with Ed Norton is great
Oh
comedy.
god, I think okay. I just love Ed Norton. Okay, it's it's just great. I
I
got
was about to just
so excited.
list off Ed Norton scenes from the movie as like what are
Can
some of
you?
your favorite.
When in his tanning bed, bro, I died when I first watched that.
I love that. I love it. No,
I
okay.
I like the scene immediately after that when they're like fighting
Yeah, yeah,
outside and
yeah.
they just like wrestle on the ground and then he like
Yeah.
makes up the story about his dad. He's like, I got you, I got you.
That,
You.
I love that part.
And they mention Ryan Gosling for 1 second.
I know, I remember that. I saw your review on Letterboxd.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't like it though.
But yeah, any of Ed
I
Norton's
will like
scenes.
it later. But you know, Ed Norton's like he's great in it. I really do love. I like. I think my favorite scene is when he first shows up and they're doing the scene.
Yeah.
Mhm. And he does his face, his like.
His
Oh,
face, I think that face makes that whole
Oh.
scene to me. Because I'm like,
No, yeah,
ah.
it does.
I'm like,
I
I'm an
love
inside joke too. That's cool.
I like that scene a lot. I think it's cool because, which I don't think it does. It's like one of the best scenes from it, but I like the way that they work together in that one scene. It's very fun. I like that.
I guess another scene I really like is the final scene
Mhm.
with when he shoots before he shoots himself. Like this is the whole lead up.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's because it has a great music cue. I freaking love music cues. When he opens the door, that's when the drum music starts again. Because it's been a while since the like drum
Yeah.
score played. So when he finally opens the door and you hear like the bum, and I'm like, yes, that's so good. That's cinema right there. Like I love that scene so
I love
much.
that.
That might be my YouTube scene that I
Yeah.
would search up just to watch.
That's a good one. I like
Yeah.
that one too.
And
good scene.
I like how you pointed out that it's been a while since we heard the drum score too, because I was remembering when we were watching it, and Antonio Sanchez was playing it too. He disappeared for like a big chunk of the movie, and I was like trying to remember which chunk of the movie it was, and then I realized I hadn't heard it for a while, and I was like, interesting. Like that kind of brings in another like thought of what the drum score actually means to the whole movie too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really like that.
It adds tension to
It
the
does.
scene.
It does. Cool.
So wait, so what would your guys' like YouTube? So you would go with like Ed Norton's first intro scene?
I
I
would.
think
I
so.
feel like I just I don't even think it's like one of the best scenes at all in the movie. I think it's one of the best like acted scenes. I think they do really good. Like their instant like chemistry between them in that scene is just so good. And honestly, also I love the scene on the roof with Emma Stone and Ed Norton also. I think it's
Mhm.
really cool when they're like playing the truth or dare and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
there's 2 roof scenes. So
Yeah.
I think the Truth or Dare scene's the first
Yeah,
one.
the first one.
Yeah.
The second one's good too, but but when I think about it, I'm thinking about that first one. And I mean, I just like that scene because it makes his character it develops.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes him more human.
Yeah, exactly,
I think so.
exactly. It makes him human. And up until that point, you see him just as a pretentious actor. And at least at that point, I mean, you saw a pretentious actor, but
But you know he has problems.
yeah,
And
you
you
understand.
realize his pretentious acting like on stage is like a result of problems like in the real world, like where he
Yeah.
can't be that person everywhere.
Yeah,
That's what's just
and
a fascinating character. Really
Yeah,
nice
it's
I
such
agree.
a cool character. I love that. I think I really liked that story a lot more this time around because
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, like when I've only seen it twice now, but the first time around, you're obviously just paying attention pretty much to Michael Keaton's storyline. Like that's the most important. That's what you're focusing on. But this time around, I tried to spend a lot more time on the other characters in it and Ed Norton because yes.
Yeah, I definitely found myself really liking Ed Norton a lot more this time around too. Because the last 2 times that I watched it, I kind of saw him more as like a burden, and I was like, ugh, go away. But this time I was like, wow, I love him.
He's great.
Yeah, and I
But
think
what about-
my
Oh,
two
God.
scenes. Sorry, I think my 2 scenes would be yeah, like the first one when he's coordinating with Michael Keaton to do like better with the script, and then also like the scene right after his tanning bed thing too, when Michael Keaton pretends to act and like cry and stuff. Oh, so good. I think both of those scenes just like show so much of like connection between Michael Keaton and Ed Norton themselves too as actors, because they're just so in sync with everything too, and it just feels like it almost feels like music when they're acting together in both of those scenes to me. Like it feels so well balanced off of each other.
The chemistry between.
Yeah, I love
Well, I
like
think all
how
the
well
actors have
they
great
bounce off
chemistry in
each
this
other.
movie.
I know.
Oh,
I
I
was gonna say really great scenes is between Regan's character and his ex girlfriend.
His ex-wife, I believe.
Is it wife? Yeah, I didn't know if it was wife, but
Mhm.
like especially like the last scene between them, not at the hospital, but when they're having like their conversation, and he's like, I wish I had like during when he's talking about like filming the birth and stuff and wishing that
Yeah.
had been there. I love that scene because it's so like I feel like that's the peak of the performance
Mhm.
from Michael Keaton in that film. Like once that scene's on, I'm like, oh.
Is that the one where he tells the story about the jellyfish?
Yeah, I think so. Also, I've been on a beach with jellyfish. It does look like that.
Yo, does the 16 cut count? Does it count those scenes at the end where they just like keep cutting to different?
Oh, I don't know actually.
Because there's like 7 cuts there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Whoa.
Oh,
No,
was
I
it-
don't think that counts then.
What's the interpretation of the jellyfish scene? Because I feel like there's so because like when they show the beach with the jellyfish on it, just seems like such a profound shot to me. It's like wow, there's so much meaning here that I just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try and break it down. I don't know.
It's kind of like a suicide. That is another attempted
is.
suicide by
Oh
him.
yeah, I think so. I guess so.
It's kind of okay. Let's see. He goes in the water and
To
the
kill
jellyfish.
himself. Well, apparently it's impossible to drown yourself, but I
It
feel like
is. It is impossible to.
I feel like
drown.
you could pull that off in the ocean though if you like swim deep enough. So when your body
And-
finally tries to fight it, you can't make it to the.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's possible. But like you can't physically hold yourself. I think you
Yeah,
also
you can't-
physically can't
you can't drown yourself in,
physically
like, a
stab
snake.
yourself. And you can't stab yourself too.
You can't stab yourself.
No, apparently
No way.
it's
I'm
like
gonna do
really
it right now.
difficult to. It's like really difficult to.
You can stab
Okay.
yourself. People have
You
done
could
that.
totally. If you play the hand, you know the hand game, the
Yeah.
But yeah.
that they play in Alien 1 where they like with the knife. Yeah.
Okay.
No, like
so
you can't stab yourself in the
apparently-
chest or something.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's really difficult, or
Apparently-
like your body won't let you.
The jellyfish represent his primitive will to live.
Interesting. Wait,
yeah.
I just had a thought about stabbing yourself in the chest. That's Japanese. What is it? I always say like Sudoku to make fun of it. It's seppuku. That's you know when Japanese ritualistic suicide where you stab yourself in the chest.
Oh. I was thinking of like that like samurai thing where you like stick it in your belly.
And that's
and-
literally what it is.
Oh.
Seppuku.
no.
I call it Sudoku, like the numbers game, to make for, like, a joke about it.
Oh my
I
god.
just found a really cool interpretation for the whole movie. Someone thinks that the jellyfish shot at the very beginning of the movie is actually when Regan dies in the story. So they think that the whole movie in one continuous
Parvati
shot.
just made a face, by the way.
I know. But people think that whole movie in one continuous shot is when he's dying in Malibu, and like he's dreaming that life, which I think is
That's
cool.
That's fine, like that. I feel like that could.
I think so too, but that's an insane like that's a whole story
And
arc.
it's one of those like it's all a dream. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's saying like it relates to the idea that every single attempt at suicide in the movie doesn't work, but then like the one that
whoa.
is working. Like, I don't know.
That's
It's
so-
interesting.
Yeah, how every suicide attempt doesn't work.
That's really
Wow.
interesting to the person on Reddit who came up with that. Good for
Yeah,
you.
but it's still one of those standard everything's a dream theory.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
that's
Applied to almost every
At,
movie ever.
at Joker.
At Joker.
I don't know. That's cool. I like that, and that would make sense because with the jellyfish, a part of me just never really. I don't understand that much. I mean, it's the thing that keeps him from.
I just thought it was a cool shot, so I'm like,
I thought it was too. I like the shot.
very
I've been on a
Lubezki
beach
Instagram
with
photo
Wait,
shot.
what about like the I don't know what it is. It's like a rocket or like a meteor or something.
Meteor?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I mean, I feel like it's a
looks
shooting
like a
star, and
shooting
he's like
star,
making
yeah.
a wish.
Oh.
No, maybe the whole thing is like his dream, and that's why it's his wish to be a.
Yeah.
Ah.
Ooh. See, this movie's fun. It's like I love it.
So you just have to juxtapose a bunch of random stuff at the ending, a bunch of random
Like,
stock footage.
what does Bumblebee fighting Iron Man mean? What is this a Transformers Avengers like crossover that they're hinting at?
I want to know what that means. I
Spider-Man at the marching band, and then Spider-Man Homecoming, he says he skips marching band practice.
What?
What does this mean?
Oh my people! I saw someone say, "Oh, obviously, when he jumps out of the window, he's jumping into the Marvel universe as
The Vulture.
And I was like, "Duh! That's exactly what that symbolizes."
Amazing.
Michael Keaton's 3 winged characters: Birdman, Vulture, and Batman.
Exactly. He's destined to be a bird.
Who would win in a fight between those 3? I say Birdman if that giant bird is part of his team, or if that's
Yeah.
like
No,
a
it's
villain.
not, right? It was he was fighting the bird thing.
The giant robotic bird. You think he was fighting it?
I think
I
he
think
was.
I think you're right because it was like terrorizing the town and like how
Yeah.
was shooting at it.
Also, I feel like I don't think Batman would win.
No,
don't
whenever I
either.
see that suit, I'm like, he has no mobility.
Yeah.
It's all, but it's all his.
issues.
His neck can't move. It's all in his
Like-
plane, his Batwing, and his Batmobile. That's all his.
Yeah,
damn
I
ability.
think Vulture would win.
He just seems the most agile.
Yeah, he's the most agile. Like, he doesn't have many problems.
Well, we
like-
don't know Birdman's power specifically. So Birdman can fly.
I mean,
He can
yeah.
fly. He has like telepathic power.
Okay.
Oh, it's over then. Oh yeah, because he's
Yeah.
like lifting objects.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, so maybe that Birdman.
I think
Vulture
if you have telepathy, you can do
really-
anything. Kind
Maybe
of.
that's how he flies. He lifts himself.
Ah.
Why
But
would
I
you be Birdman though if you had mind powers? Like I'm gonna be a bird.
You don't know birds do that. You just don't see it, JJ.
That's funny. Wow. I love that.
I just thought of a segment we could have for a show, and it could be called the Rick Dalton segment, where we point out when the movie like says the title of the movie.
God.
And for me, that was when they held up the newspaper and it said "The Unexpected
Well,
Virtue
yeah.
of Ignorance." I literally was like,
I know the. I love it.
"I'm
love
on, I'm on."
That's my favorite thing right now. I love that.
Was that not cheesy? Was that cheesy to you guys? I just felt like there it is, there it is.
In a way, I think it's because if in my interpretation, that's like when he's like dead, like, and he's dreaming of this. So I'm like, oh, that's such a thing that would happen in a dream. Like you would so be like, oh, the title.
You know how people were like out like in crowds and things with like candles and stuff for him too?
Yeah, the vigils.
Yeah, maybe that was just him being dead, but like, yeah, instead of people
Whoa.
actually praying for him.
It's like they're sending their, respects because he's died. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool
'cause
interpretation.
This is why I say that thinking about the movie and talking about it is kind of more fun than watching it. 'Cause it's fun to watch it, but it's so I love this, like the conversations that we've been having, and like there's so many ways you could view the story, and it doesn't even have to be in like, because it wasn't intended to be viewed in the look, it's an actor struggling. I mean, obviously that's on the surface, but deep down everyone can relate to the story, and I think it's fun. I love it. I love talking about it.
Me too.
I like the movie more when I'm talking about it.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't want to turn this negative, but like I've thought I might as well just ask, but just any like nitpicks or things we don't like about the movie. I have like one thing I don't like.
Which is what?
We haven't mentioned Emma Stone. No, I love Emma Stone, but her best scene, I don't like that scene.
Wait,
her
is it the
whole
one where
rant
she's
about
yelling?
Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah. As much as she's like a great actor, that scene felt so like preachy to me in terms of like the film's message, because it really didn't need that, I felt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's such a good like acted scene between Michael Keaton and Emma Stone. It's like I'm okay with this being in the movie,
Yeah.
but that was like my thing about the movie. I think it's a little on the nose at that point in
I
terms of its themes
I
about.
feel like yeah. There's
Yeah, I don't
couple-
like any of the. Yeah, I don't like any of the parts where she's like, "Oh, I set up a Twitter page for you." I don't know. It just
You don't
felt
even have a
very.
Facebook page.
I know. I was
I
like, "Oh, so you only base relevance based off of that?" Like, I understood. It just felt like a very random theme to be like, you need to keep up with the times, but that's not even his goal.
No, it felt like boomer, like
Yeah.
social media, like it felt like he
Yeah.
doesn't have a Facebook, so he's not cool. But like no one has a Facebook now, and it's like 2017 or no 20. Why is 2014? when the movie came out.
2014. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about 2014 later.
I feel that there's not a lot, but there are a few moments in it where I feel like it gets a little preachy and it's
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
too on the nose. And I think that's what I have the problems with when I'm watching it. Because like in those moments I'm like, well, yeah, you don't
'Cause I
really
feel like
need
it's already
to
so
point it out.
dense in theme. That
Exactly. And then you kind of it's just too much at points. And I almost all of the negative reviews that I've seen for Birdman have said it's way too preachy, which
Yeah.
I don't think it's like too preachy, but there are moments where I'm like, okay, just
Yeah.
dial it back a little bit or make it a little bit more subtle. I don't know. It's,
I also I don't like the scenes with like the critic too at the bars. Like I just
Okay, I was about to mention that. Yeah, those aren't the
Yeah.
best scenes.
they're not the best, but I
I
kind of
don't
like
like them.
It's
I
because Ratatouille's already had the perfect critic
yeah,
scene, critic arc,
they already
like
paved the
critic
way with
dissection. It's
Antonio.
like over. You can't make
Yeah.
any more commentary on criticism because
yeah, give
Ratatouille
up. You're
knocked
done.
it out of the park.
Yeah,
with
Ratatouille won. So move on, everyone else, okay? If you're listening and you're writing a movie about a critic, give up. No, I was kidding. I'm joking. But
I
Looks
think
like-
the one thing I did like about like her though was she was talking about like traditional performance versus like people who are trying to like be posers in the industry and stuff too. But I just feel like I don't know. I think that part also felt very on the nose where it's like talking about people who are trying to do something in a field of expertise that there's like traditionalists and then there's like other people who aren't willing to go along with it too. So I felt like that kind of it was also just very much on the nose, and I just didn't like her character, and I just it
Well,
was
I
not
don't think we're meant to like her character though.
No.
Yeah,
Actually,
but I don't like her purpose in it either. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like she added stakes to the last act because, like, if she doesn't like it, then the play won't be successful. Like, she's the ultimate decider of success for Riggin.
Yeah,
And I like how she like doesn't she like leaves
yeah.
after he shoots himself. That's a cool.
I feel like going back to the person who said that the whole thing is him dying and drowning in Malibu, you could character as and also Birdman as like his self-critic, you know?
Okay.
But
I
only
thought you were gonna call them jellyfish. Like they are metaphorical
They're
jellyfish.
jellyfish.
jellyfish. Yeah.
But wait, just real quick back to as much as I like Michael Keaton's performance, I feel like it's during the scenes with the critic where it's like a little shaky for me when he's like labels, all about these labels. Oh, and he like hits her in the head with the flower.
Yeah. Oh my
It
god,
felt-
I don't like
It
that.
felt a little bit too much where it's like because the whole movie you can like put yourself in it, but at that point it just felt so much like no, this is just about an actor and a critic. Like, and you can't I don't know. Because it's like so preachy about that. But I don't know.
I guess we'll end talking about Birdman on a more positive note. So let's just talk about because we just like those are negative. Let's talk about our favorite performance. So I just mentioned Michael Keaton, but as great as he is, he's not my favorite performance.
No.
Is he? Let me just Ed Norton. Is it Ed Norton? Are we gonna go
I
with
think
Ed
it's
Norton?
Ed Norton. Yeah.
Should I just
Ed
mention like the other supporting? What about did we like Naomi Watts' character?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I like her.
Yes.
Her arc is more like she's also like Riggin in a way, but more like subdued. She's also trying to like make it onto Broadway.
More
After
I
being
think in a
established.
more healthy way. But also
Yeah, in a more healthy way.
yeah, I feel like her trying to make it in Broadway is the realistic what would be,
Yeah.
It would yeah. because it seems like healthy, you know, a little bit obsessed with trying to get there, but
I think
mean,
it's funny. I think it's funny because she like comes to Riggin talking about like how she's finally in Broadway, but she's not even like happy about it. And then he finds it so easy to console her and be like, "You made it," you know. Like he finds it so easy to do that, but he can't do that with himself, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to respond. Yeah, I guess.
True.
I feel like that speaks more to his problems because like
Yeah.
people can like make like have their like console their friends but still be like sad with themselves.
Very true.
What
but-
about I don't know how to pronounce Andrea Riseborough as the other girl in the play?
Yes. Wow,
Oh.
that's rude to her. You just called her.
She has like a Irish accent or something or Scottish.
Yeah, I've actually first saw
does.
her in
She
the
does.
Black Mirror episode.
Oh, I thought you meant in the movie.
No, no,
I was so
the
confused.
real world.
Oh, I was so confused. I was like, did I watch the movie wrong? Because she didn't. But okay, that makes sense.
I actually
was-
first saw her with her accent in the Black Mirror episode, so I was like really tripped out when I saw her speak.
Yeah,
like,
wait, which Black Mirror episode?
It was it was Crocodile.
Oh, that's her! Holy
Yeah,
shit!
I
She's the
know,
one who looks
right?
like Ellen.
Yeah,
She's the one who
Wait,
looks-
she looks like Ellen? Oh my gosh, that's great.
Oh, you need to watch Crocodile. That's
It's
a.
really good.
I'll pick you up. My God, that's one of the. Oh man, I don't even want to say what one of. The...
yeah.
I like it. People don't like it because of how like you know. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like.
Oh dear.
I
haven't
hated it
seen
when I first saw it. It was the first Black Mirror episode I saw too, and I was like, "What is this?"
Oh, that is not a good first.
I
That's- why would
know.
that-
What's a good first Black Mirror episode?
The first Black Mirror episode, like
Wow,
literally
that's a
national
good argument.
anthem. Or Nosedive, the one with Bryce Dallas Howard. That's also a good
I have not seen those.
Interesting.
season 3 Black Mirror, best season.
Yeah.
But,
Anyway, Ed Norton. No.
Okay, we've decided it's Ed Norton, but let's go
Yeah.
through other. I also love Emma Stone's performance.
I
even
do,
though
I
her
do.
dialogue isn't the best in
It
terms of
is.
like.
It's a little. I think it's not her fault. I think it's the fact that like I don't know. I feel like they could have either like made up a social media so that when later on you're watching it, it doesn't feel so dated and preachy.
Yeah,
Because
That's true.
if it was something else,
That's
it
such
would,
a smart solution. Make up your own.
yeah. Movies do it all the time, and it works. It makes sense because you're like,
like
oh,
the
you can understand
slap.com
this.
for
The
Victorious.
cinematic masterpiece. Victorious. It's wonderful.
Yeah, the
Anyways.
slap.com.
Yeah.
Okay, since you guys are going with Ed Norton, I'm just gonna give a shout out to. I'll just say this is my favorite one. Then Zach Galifianakis. Okay, we were talking about actors breaking from the role. This is his most serious role, I think, and
That's
he does
true.
awesome.
Yeah,
He
in
was
this movie.
awesome. You're right. You're right.
He has so many great scenes, and I feel like he's forgotten about because he kind of like takes a back seat for the second half of the film.
He is. You're right. He is so good
But he
at.
has so many great scenes. The way he like when he tries to like console Reagan, and he's like, you know, Martin Scorsese. He doesn't say Scorsese correctly. He's like Martin Scorsese. He's like
Yeah.
trying to cast for his new movie,
Oh,
and
there's
you can
this
tell like
one-
this whole play is like stressing him out so much. He's like
Oh
just
gosh.
as stressed as.
Bless his soul. He deserves, like, his character deserves like so much.
Yeah,
That's-
there's this one part where he delivers his lines so like quickly. I don't know what he's saying. He's like, "We don't have enough money to do this. We don't have to do this." And da, 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 da. And I was like, "Wow, how did you say all of that so fast?" I was like, "That's
But that's
amazing."
what the stressed out producer would be like.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, you just gotta give it to him. He was trying so hard to glue everything together, and it's like, it's fine, it'll be fine. It's not fine.
I feel like as an AD, I feel that way sometimes too. I feel like I see that in ADs a lot too.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god.
Well, I feel like any kind of like producer AD type of role where you have to manage a production or show of some kind.
Or like manager in even like any job, probably.
Mhm.
I mean, I haven't done that, but I've been with people who
His
have.
character kind of gets his happy ending when he like
But then that's if you interpret that
Yeah,
as
yeah,
reality.
as-
So it's
yeah.
kind of just up.
but he's like he finally got his successful like client or his friend is now like
Yeah.
successful. He gets to yell at paparazzi to what are you guys doing? This is
I know it seemed like he loved doing that at that part.
Yeah.
Like he was just so ready for it.
But I like the part before that too. Is like you're gonna say it was an accident that you brought your gun out there.
Oh my
But yeah, I
God.
just wanted to mention it because we hadn't mentioned his character at all.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
So I just
sorry.
wanted to give some love to
Yeah.
Galifianakis.
He deserves it.
I
Galifianakis, he's homie.